Hello, my name is Megan. Thank you so much for joining me for practice today. If you're here, you're either new to the practice of yoga or you're a more seasoned yogi who's looking to dive back into the basics. In today's class, we'll explore a few of the foundational poses you can expect to see in a Vinyasa style of practice. We'll only get into a few of them today as there definitely are so many layers to this practice. But to keep it really simple, I invite you to move with your breath. Listen to your body, take rest when you need to, modify any of the shapes that don't feel good or feel unsafe for you. And hopefully this mini class supports you in building up a little bit of confidence in the practice to continue to explore further. I'll be using blocks in a few of the poses today. If you do have those handy at home, grab them. If not, no worries. We can still work through everything today without. Let's get started in a child's pose. I'll be using only English names for the poses today. We'll dive into Sanskrit in another class. So child's pose, take your knees out wide, big toes meet near the back of your mat. If you do have your blocks ready to go, let's just make sure they're off to the side. As you walk your hands towards the top of your mat, allow your forehead to settle down to the earth. And take your time here to shift and move around a bit until you feel comfortable. This first pose, if it's feeling quite tight on your hips or low back, this is where a block can be really handy. Place it in between your heels and your sit bones. Okay. And of course, you're welcome to hold this shape with your hips slightly lifted if the compression just feels like way too much. Okay. And in these first few moments of the practice, can you connect into your breath? Just check in with the quality of your breath, the cadence of your breath. No right or wrong. We're just creating awareness in the body. As you land here, can you send your hips more towards your heels? Notice a subtle lengthening of the spine. Do you feel a slow opening across the chest as you allow your torso to melt towards the earth? And find a bit of energetic sensation as you press into your palms, root into your forearms, broaden across your back body. In each of these shapes, we're looking to create a balance between effort and ease. Okay, so we can find some peace and comfortability in these shapes, but there's also work, there's energetic action. On your next inhale, press up into your palms, come on to all fours, tabletop. Knees will shift in below your hips. Cow-cat movement. With your inhale, can you soften into your belly, tilt your sit bones towards the ceiling and draw your chest gaze through. Notice my shoulders draw down and back. Okay, as you exhale, root away from your palms, draw your navel to your spine, chin to chest, dome across the back body. We're here for a few rounds of breath. Inhale, belly will fall. Lift your hips, shoulders back, chest gaze through. And exhale, round navel to spine, chin to chest. This is a great place to set a steady cadence of breath. In our Vinyasa style of practice, we use a breath called Ujjayi. And I'll just give you the short introduction to that. Begin to close off your lips, seal off your lips, and allow your breath to flow steady in and out of your nose. And with the assistance of this movement, this slow movement, can you match the length of your inhale to the length of your exhale? Keep in mind, this can be quite challenging at first, especially if you're feeling restriction in the breath. You just show yourself some grace. You can sigh out through the mouth at any point. We're just getting curious. Take one more full round. Inhale through your nose. And exhale through your nose. Slowly come back through center. Back in your tabletop. Send your hands slightly forward, about an inch. Tuck your toes under, downward facing dog. Root away from your palms. Lift your hips up towards the ceiling. And charge your heels back down towards the mat. Now, right away, this might feel quite intense on the body, especially because we've been on the hands now for a few moments. So I encourage you to play around with shifting your weight forward and back. Pedal out your knees a couple times, right, left. Broaden across your back body. Okay. And then eventually you can find stillness. For some of you, it might feel more comfortable to shorten your stance and bend deep into your knees, okay? Especially if you really feel like you're reaching. Okay, shorten up your stance. And as you energetically root through your palms, let your head hang heavy. Send it to the space behind you in between your heels. Okay. Tilt your sit bones towards the ceiling and feel your core fire up. Sensation might right away arrive for you in the back of the legs. So you can ease that sensation by bending the knees or intensify by charging more through your heels. Okay. Take a few rounds of breath. We're not here for too much longer. I know this pose is challenging. With your next inhale, come up onto your tippy toes, look forward, and slowly walk all the way to the top of your mat. There's a forward fold. Another great place to use your block or two blocks. Standing forward fold, feet are hip distance apart, bend your knees a lot, and let your upper body hang heavy. Okay. If you don't have blocks handy, you might grab opposite elbows and rest them just above your knees. Draw your shoulders from your ears to create some length and space for the neck. Okay. We'll stay here for a few rounds of breath. There are a lot of options for the arms, whether you're holding here more supported, maybe the arms dangle. Okay. If you have your blocks handy, this might feel really nice to rest your forearms on the blocks. And we're here for just a few more rounds of breath. So enjoy this. See if you can soften in. Find the balance of effort and ease as you continue to anchor through both feet. Tilt your sit bones towards the ceiling, but soften the upper body. Next, inhale, lift up halfway. You'll move the blocks out to the side. Fingertips can graze your shins just below the knees. Shoulders roll down and back. Core is on. Think about head moving towards the front of the space, sit bones moving back. As you exhale, forward fold. Rise all the way up to stand. Inhale, breath. Anchor through your feet. Reach your arms up and over, full body stretch. And exhale, bring your hands to meet at heart center. Okay. We'll work through a sun salutation, just one in this class today. Inhale, arms reach up. This is sun salutation A. As you exhale, slow hinge from your hips, forward fold. Take an inhale to halfway lift, lengthen, okay, just like we did. Exhale, bring your hands down to the mat and step one foot back at a time into a plank pose. Okay. Plank pose is a traditional shape or a transitional shape you'll come into quite often in a vinyasa style of practice. You can always modify this shape by lowering your knees down to the mat. Notice your core is still on. Energetically press away from your palms, broaden across your back body. Really common in plank pose to hyperextend the elbows. So if you look down and you're hyperextending, see if you can turn your elbow creases in slightly and soft bend into your elbows. Really good. Keep your gaze slightly forward. Inhale, shift forward. And slower than you want to, bend into your elbows and come all the way down to your belly. Good. Untuck your toes so the tops of your feet are flat on the mat. Your hip bones press down and towards the mat. Keep your palms where they are. Notice there's a 90-degree bend in the elbows. Elbows squeeze in. This is cobra pose. As you inhale, peel your chest up away from the mat. Keep your head or your gaze down, slightly forward. So try to avoid this or this. Okay, create a really long spine. Your neck is an extension of the spine. So inhale, breath, lengthen. As you exhale, slow, lower down. Keep your hands where they are, tuck your toes. With your knees on the mat, press back up into your plank shape. This is a modified variation. Okay, downward facing dog. Lift your hips up and back. Pedal out your knees a few times. Bend your knees, look forward, step or float all the way towards the top of your mat, forward fold. We're completing the sun salutation A. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise all the way up, full body stretch. Exhale, hands meet at heart center. Okay. We'll move into a warrior two from here. Keep your right foot at the top of your mat and step your left foot towards the back of your mat. Deep bend in your right knee. Okay, so your right knee tracks over your right big toe. So if you look down, you should be able to see the big toe. Okay. I usually have a gentle self-adjustment to guide my right knee open. So you should feel some sensation now, or you might feel some sensation in the inner line of your right thigh. Arms open up to a T position. Soften your shoulders from your ears. Core is in. Think of knitting the ribs and drawing the shoulders down. Tailbone moves down. Send your gaze over your right fingertips. Good. So I'm pressing into the pinky toe edge of each foot. Notice it's not super exaggerated so that I peel the arch or the big toe mound of my foot off the ground, but just enough to kind of balance the weight in each foot. Drawing out, hips are open in this shape. Take an inhale breath. On your exhale, press into your right foot, straighten out your front leg. Let's all heel toe our back foot in so we have a slightly shorter stance, and we'll come into extended triangle pose. Arms are still out to a T, but can you flip your palms open towards the left side of your space? This is another place a block might be handy. I'm going to place it at the pinky side edge of my right foot. Okay. Inhale, breath, lengthen up. Hips are still open in this shape. And slowly begin to hinge from the hips. Take your right hand down to your block. If you don't have a block, a light grip or a light resting spot on your right shin is a good place to land. Okay. And then we'll focus on drawing the left shoulder back. Gaze up towards the ceiling only if the neck allows. Hey, for some of you, that might cause strain, so you can keep your gaze forward or down towards your right hand. Okay. Left arm might reach up towards the ceiling. Again, if that's too much strain, you can keep the hand on your hip or rest the back of your hand at your sacrum, so the space right below at the base of your spine. Okay. We'll stay here for a few rounds of breath. And just check in with what sensations come up for you here. Keep breathing. This is a challenging pose. My body is working. Okay, take an inhale breath. Stay for your exhale. Inhale, let's come all the way back up. Turn your toes to the long edge of your mat. And we'll set up for a wide leg forward fold. Okay, so toes are pointing forward or slightly in. Try to avoid the toes out for this transition. Inhale, breath, lift your chest, lift your gaze. As you exhale, slow with the core on. Hinge from your hips and come down to your fold. This is a nice place to have your block again. If you do have that handy at home, you can rest your hands on the block. Or like we did in a standing forward fold at the top of the mat, you can rest your forearms. Hey, I always like to take a little bit of movement, especially if you're still feeling quite tight in the body, soft bend from side to side. Okay, but like we did at our standing forward fold at the top of your mat, focus on creating some effort as you anchor through the feet. Tilt your sit bones towards the ceiling, lengthen out the back of your legs, but allow the sense of ease to settle into the upper body, decompress the spine, let your head hang heavy. A few more rounds of breath. Take your block, or on your inhale, come all the way up. Take your block with you if you are using it. And we'll work the other side, warrior two and triangle, extended triangle, facing now the back of this space. Okay, so your left toes will turn to point towards the back of your space. Heel toe your right foot back so that you have a slightly wider stance. Notice when I bend into my warrior two, I need quite a long stance to stack my left knee over the ankle, okay? If the stance is too short, you might start to see more of this, which can cause some strain in the knee joint. Okay, we want to use more of a bone stacking foundation here. Look down, make sure you can see your left big toe. I'm just going to place this down here for a moment. Okay, and then open up your arms to a T. Soften your shoulders from your ears. Take a few moments to settle in, especially if you have a bit more tension on this side or it doesn't feel quite right coming out of the wide leg forward bend. There's never a rush to land in this shape. Okay, notice that when you do find that place of ease, you can connect into your breath and then call upon the effort. So the quads fire up, your inner thigh opens up. Take an inhale breath. Maybe sink deeper with your exhale. On your next inhale, press away from your left foot. Let's set up for our extended triangle. Shorten your stance here. Heel toe your right foot in. Core is on. Inhale breath. Turn your palms open to the left side of your space. And as you exhale, slow hinge. I had my block placed at the pinky side edge of the toe. So take your time to set up if it's not quite there. And remember, if you don't have a block, find a light resting place for the fingertips on the shin. For a bit more core activation, you can rest the back of your hand to the inner calf or ankle. And take a moment to fix your gaze. One point to focus your concentration, focus your attention. Whether it's down at your block or your foot towards the space in front of you or up towards your top fingertips. This is an active pose, so fire up all of your strength. Stay here for an inhale breath. Stay for your exhale. On your inhale, come back up through center. Let's take the block with us. Okay. Turn your toes towards the left just one more time. Pedal out the knees from side to side, and let's pivot all the way back to the top of the mat. Step forward, ha. All right, from the top of your mat, we'll begin to transition down. Inhale, breath, reach your arms up. Exhale, slow fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step back, plank pose. Okay, so we're here in plank. Remember, you have the option to lower your knees down to the mat, option to keep your knees lifted. Okay. We'll stay a little bit longer in this pose. Gaze is slightly forward, dome across your back body. And we'll work through a 4-limb staff pose or low plank. Inhale, shift forward. Again, option to use your knees. Okay, and then bend into your elbows, slowly hover your chest this time so you're not coming all the way down. Continue to send your gaze slightly forward, squeeze your elbows into the side body. Notice the 90-degree bend. Okay, your knees are on the mat or you're lifting. Upward facing dog, untuck your toes. Hover your knees, your thighs off the mat. Peel your chest gaze through and relax your shoulders down towards your back. Inhale. On your exhale, child's pose. Lower your knees to the mat. Send your hips to your heels, forehead to the mat. Sigh out through your mouth, let that go. And on your next inhale, press up into your hands. Downward dog. Okay, anchor through your palms, tuck your toes, lift your hips up and back. Inhale, lift your right leg up and back behind you from down dog, 3-leg dog. Okay. And pigeon pose. Slowly guide your right knee towards your right wrist as you extend your left leg along behind you. Okay. Pigeon pose often cannot feel great on the knee or the hips. Okay, so I'll show a modification for that once I guide you into this shape. So come out of the pose if it's starting to cause pain. Those of you who feel okay here, the idea is that we're creating more of a tripod foundation with the body. So right knee is slightly out to the right. Right toes are slightly out to the left. For some people, shin parallel with the top of the mat is available. For me, it's not, and for you, it may not be as well. So focus less on how far your right foot comes forward and more about creating balance in that tripod foundation. So hips become the third point, right knee, right foot, and hips. Okay. Look back behind you, make sure your left leg is long, directly out from the hip. So notice if it's out to the side or slightly in. We just want to make sure that the knee joint feels supported. With your inhale, lift up tall through your upper body. With your exhale, you may begin to fold forward over your front shin. Blocks are handy here in a few ways. Hey, if it feels intense to lower all the way down to the mat, you can place a block just below your forehead. Another option, if you don't have a block, is to stack your fists, your palms, and some of you may be able to come all the way down. If you're having a hard time staying balanced, block is handy again to place underneath the right sit bone or the right hip. Okay. So this will help to balance off the hips so that you can fold from here without falling or rolling from side to side. For those of you who don't feel great in your pigeon pose, you're welcome to swing your left leg around, come onto your back, and take a figure 4 variation instead. Right ankle will cross over your right thigh, guide your right knee away from your body. You might take it further, thread the needle as you draw your left knee in towards your chest. But this might be a great place to stay. Sensation may start to come up for you in the outer right line. Okay. And to switch over to the other side, if this is the variation you're taking, you can stay right here. Release the right leg and set up on the left side when you're ready to do so. Okay. Those of you who are taking your pigeon pose and you're feeling comfortable to move to the other side, rise up away from your mat, press into your palms, lift your right leg up and back behind you. Meet back in down dog. We'll come into the other side the same way. Left leg will kick up and back behind you. Come high onto your right toes, look forward. Left knee will land in behind left wrist. Right leg will shimmy way back. Upper body is tall. Now remember, take your time to create that stable tripod foundation. Left knee slightly out, left toes slightly out to the right. Hips are stable at the back of the third point of your tripod. Option to place your block, if you have one, pillow or blanket works well also. Okay, and you might begin to fold forward. Block underneath your forehead, or you can stack your palms, fists. And often when we're exploring something new, we get really caught up in trying to do it right, or what we think to be the correct way. So instead of worrying about what this shape looks like, can you tune into how it feels? Okay, so notice where you're feeling sensation. Can you use an exhale breath to soften into any gripping or resistance? Notice where you're hanging on to tension. Can you soften your shoulders, relax your gaze, soften your glutes? And when you're ready, we'll come out of that pose, press into your palms, tuck your toes, step back into downward facing dog. Pedal out your knees a few times, right, left. Those of you who are on your back, you can stay there. From down dog, walk forward and come all the way through to a seat. And if you have your block handy, you can take it with you. We'll just work through another pose, one more pose before we close down the practice. We'll come into bridge pose. Bring your feet flat on the mat, knees point up towards the ceiling. I brought my block for a supportive variation. So if you have a block, press into your feet, lift your hips up, and slowly place the block at your sacrum, the base of your spine. Okay. And then allow your hands to rest either on the front of your hips, out to the side, maybe to a cactus or a T shape. Okay. This will be more of a restorative variation. You have the block here to take some of the work away from the glutes, but you're still enjoying the opening through the front line of the body. Okay, to lift up away from the block, press into your feet, activate your glutes, slide the block out, and lower down when you're ready. Stay in this shape for as long as you need to. I know this one feels really nice for a lot of people. Hey, for a more active variation, arms alongside your body, graze your heels with your fingertips, and inhale, press into your feet, lift your hips. Roll your shoulders underneath your back. So important in this shape to activate the back body. So squeeze into your glutes, your hamstrings, your glutes to take the pressure away from your back. Use your bigger, stronger muscles to support you. Acknowledge the opening through the front line of the body. If you have the space, you can interlace your hands just below your back. Lift up more through your hips and your gaze down the midline. Stay for an inhale breath. Notice if the knees want to fall out or in. Squeeze into your strong quads. Lift up and slow, lower. Really good. You guys bring the soles of your feet together. Let your knees open up to either side of your space. This is a reclined bound angle shape. Okay, so we soften the inner line of the thighs. Can you relax into your glutes? Maybe take your arms again to a cactus or a T as you open and soften across the chest. Okay, one more pose before our final rest in corpse pose, Shavasana. Take your hands to your outer thighs. Okay, slowly draw your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a big hug, big squeeze. Once again, I encourage you to linger in this next pose on each side for as long as it feels good in your body. We're closing here with a twist, spinal twist. Shift your hips over towards the right side of your space and gently guide both knees over towards the left side of your space. Right shoulder will roll open, and if the gaze allows, you can send your gaze over your right shoulder. Relax your shoulders from your ears to create more space for your neck. Another place the block might be handy. If this feels like a lot on your hips or low back, you can place a block in between your knees. Stay here for as long as you like. To transition over to the other side, if you have the block, you might keep it in between your knees. Realign your spine. I find lifting the hips helps to really create that balance. And then other side, hips shift to the left, knees fall to the right. Readjust your block, soften in. Left shoulder will peel open and gaze might fall over your left shoulder. Again, take a few moments to really land in these shapes. Check in with the sensation in your body. Get curious. Especially if you are brand new to these shapes, be fully present to how it feels, what comes up, and maybe how you can make the shapes more supportive for you. After your final twist, work your way back through center. This is our final pose, so important in this practice. Shavasana, corpse pose. Extend your legs out long, arms out to either side of your space. Draw your shoulders from your ears. Rock your head from side to side, sway your hips. Then allow yourself to land in stillness. This pose is so important to close off practice. It's here where we give the body a chance to heal, regenerate, renew. We also get to absorb all of the benefits of each pose, each shape we moved in and out of today. If you were holding Ujjayi breath, carrying that through the practice, now is your time to let that go and allow your breath to flow in a more natural, organic way. Maybe you can tune into anything that feels different in your body, in your energy, and in your soul. I encourage you to stay in your final rest for as long as you need to and as long as you can today. Soak it all in. And silently thank yourself for taking the time in your day to show up on your mat. Working through any obstacles that came up for you to land here, you did it. Congratulations. And thank you so much for choosing to practice with me today and trusting me in guiding you. Is such a pleasure. When we close in this practice with a namaste, as we acknowledge this opportunity to move, explore, and learn together. From my heart to yours, namaste.